Hey, all you beautiful people. Mike Carroll here, coming at you again with another podcast. I got my good friend here, Sean Singleton. He's a fellow agent here at Real Estate Essentials. And something you and the brokerage have decided to come up with in our brokerage is what we're going to talk about today, and which is
Business brokering. Yes, we're
business
gonna
brokering.
add a whole new division to our brokerage. We're gonna add business brokering to provide additional opportunities for our agents, for our clients, and be able to grow that moving forward.
So, business brokering, which means we're going to help people buy and sell businesses. Is that right?
Yeah, we're facilitating the buy and the sell of a business. Similar to real estate, but with a business. So
A lot of times we'll get clients that say, I need to sell my shop or a restaurant or something, and there's real estate tied to that, right? So they first think about a real estate agent, let me sell this business. But it goes beyond just the actual physical part, right? The building, the real property. There's more to a business than just the real property. So currently, I don't know, is there a place they can go that they use to sell businesses? Do they sell them on their own? And why would they want to come to us to do something to sell their business?
I mean, like I said, similar to real estate, there is resources. I mean, you could do for sale by owner on some capacity, but it really gets really in depth and deep depending on the business, the size of the business, the scale and the scope of it, and what kind of services they provide. If you're selling a lemonade stand or something, that's a pretty quick transaction. But if you're selling a multi-million-dollar business, there's a lot of due diligence and there's a lot of research tied into knowing the ins and outs of that business and making sure you check all those boxes during that due diligence period to make sure that it's the right fit for you, the financials make sense, and it's something that you're ready to make a move on for
Yeah.
sure.
And this is right up your wheelhouse, right? Too. This is you were a business owner, so kind of give us some background of your dealings with business, buying, selling business, running businesses, going into real estate. How did this all come about, and why is it a passion of yours to help this kind of niche that no other agents or no
Yeah.
other brokerage is really doing?
Yeah, for a long time, I managed businesses. I mean, I've managed up to 11 locations at a time and over 125 employees. And then I went out on my own. I seen that, I was being so successful working for others that in that field that I was like, man, if I did this for myself, what would that look like? And so I started my own business. And, for the first few years, it was just a startup and, trying to get the grip on things and make sure everything's functional and profitable. And it went really, really well. And, towards, going into year 3, into 4, I started thinking, what would it look like to kind of pivot out of this industry? And so I prepared it to sell. I did all the things that I try to coach others to do before I even knew what I was doing, because you do want to prepare to sell your business. You don't want to just decide one day I'm going to sell my business. Like, you want to have an exit strategy, which is really important. So for me, that was, tightening up on my books and my book record keeping and, my digital presence, like my reviews and just all the little things that somebody is going to come in and dissect when they're looking to buy a business. I wanted to present it as a very viable, well operating machine. And so that's what I did. It was a great experience. I worked with a business broker, so I learned all those ins and outs. I'm passionate about it because, I want to help others navigate them through the process. Like I said, it's really similar to real estate and helping people buy their first home, but it's the same type of a feeling, helping somebody buy a business or prepare them to sell their business in a way that's going to be the best for them, the most profitable under their terms, their conditions, and, have it be as favorable as a deal as it can for them. So
Love it, love it, love it. So yeah, we do normal residential transactions, real estate transactions, but we do have the commercial division. So is this tying into the commercial divisions? Is that what the plan is?
yeah, it definitely ties into commercial, because clearly there's going to be businesses that have real estate involved in the transaction. So you could sell, commercial real estate on its own or with a running business. And one of the big opportunities that I see is we're not always marketing that package together in as great of a light as possible. We're tying the business to that real estate more instead of focusing on that business. Like, I feel like they're two things that stand alone from each other. And if you package them both correctly, then you can maximize not only the real estate side of it, but the business as well.
Nice, love it. Yeah, so this is one of the great things that I love about working with Real Estate Essentials is that we're always thinking outside the box, right? We're always coming up with new solutions to problems that we see in our daily lives when we're out there working with our clients.
Yes.
So if someone was thinking of buying or selling a business, what kind of advice do you give them to, like you talked about how you prepared your business? Is there, if someone's watching this right now and saying, you know, I'm thinking about selling my business, what do you suggest to them? How do they go about getting that?
Yeah, like I said, a few tips on the front end is getting your documentation and your paperwork in order. Anybody buying a business is going to have their due diligence period where they're going to go through your financials and they want to see, you know, your profit and loss statements. And you want to be able to present that in the best light. If you're stumbling over those initial things on the front end, you're already giving off red flag vibes of how the rest of the transaction is going to be. And, you know, maybe you're over presenting your business and putting it in a different light than what the documents are stating. So I think you want to get everything in alignment. You definitely want to have a plan, kind of like an exit strategy as far as like a time frame. Like you can't be checked out. That's one of the biggest things that, you know, that I'm seeing is some people just decide they don't want their business anymore. They're ready to sell and they think it's happens like that, and it don't. So you have to be committed to the process. You probably want to give yourself at least 6 months to a year, knowing that you're going to have to operate at a high level during that time frame while the business is marketed and sells and goes through that due diligence period. It could take a month to months, depending on how in depth it is and what kind of business and what kind of findings they want to dive into. So,
And if you're ready, got your business fine tuned and you're just humming along and doing really great, maybe not as long, right?
yeah, no, definitely. Not everybody is in that scenario, but you know, like what I find are the people that want it done now. Those are usually the ones that aren't fully prepared. So that's the stuff we got to backtrack on. Takes a little bit longer. But if you've already been thinking about this and it's something you want to do, then those types of businesses and those business owners are usually already running their business at a higher level and they got all that stuff pretty streamlined and worked out. And so we just got to put a few tweaks on things, package it together, get that information.
And is that something you can help the
Yeah.
owners with, you know, getting everything fine tuned? And
Yes. I mean, so most businesses, the best way to sell a business is one that's been in business for at least 3 years, because you want to have 3 years of financials. And what we do on the front end is an evaluation.
valuation.
It's
I like that.
sounds like evaluation/valuation, but a valuation of your business financials so that we could get kind of like a, you know, that initial like pricing up a house, you know, running comps, that sort of thing. But we're doing it based off of your own personal P&L and what kind of income stream that you have coming into your business.
Now you say income stream, so that's I think is a very important point as well, because a lot of people when they sell a business, like I own all this equipment, I own this building, or I'm leasing this building, I've got trucks, whatever, and this is what the value of this is, the equipment, the trucks. But it's not just that in business, right? It's what they are actually bringing in. So sometimes you can overvalue something or undervalue the owners. And that's kind of where I guess you step in and say, well, let's see what kind of income is. So if you can explain that a little bit more, not just the assets they own, but the actual profits they bring in.
I mean, so having the assets and stuff, that's really just part of your business and part of doing business. Like clearly you can't provide that business if you're running a restaurant and you take the equipment out of it, separate that, it's not a business anymore. That is an integral part of your business. So usually you're including the FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment as part of the business. You could definitely put a different amount on that. Like I like to try to use that to add value, but really we're going off of your net profit. Like what are you actually, at the end of all the expenses, what are you actually netting? What's going in the bank? And then depending on the industry, there's multipliers. So you can, some businesses have higher multipliers than others, and you're able to create a valuation based off of that.
So a lot more goes into it than actually selling just a piece of real estate.
A lot more.
A whole lot more, right? Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, and there's businesses that have zero real estate. It's literally just a retail business with a lease, and they could be just as profitable as anything else, because at the end of the day, it's what are you making, right? Like you could have a $10,000 a month lease that you have to pay. That's just the cost of doing business. It comes out of your expenses for operating. But if you're still netting, $20,000 a month, or hundreds of $1,000s a year, and depending on the space, you could multiply that and create a valuation in the millions. So it just depends on what the industry that you're in, the amount of money it makes, and clearly, the demand that creates for potential buyers.
So let's flip it. What about buyers that are looking to buy a business? I mean, we can help them with that as well.
So the funny thing is, a lot of times, reverse of real estate, a lot of times a buyer of a business isn't represented the same way as like a buyer's agent with real estate goes. Usually business brokers are marketing, they're doing all that themselves, they're bringing their own buyers. And so a lot of times they're what they would call like double siding the transaction. But that said, there's definitely a value in having somebody, be your advocate and kind of look out for you during the process. Have somebody that you could, lean on for questions and, keep you on track. So we could totally do that too. Like I said, it's not as common, but, whatever kind of deal you want to set up with a business broker, an attorney, an accountant, somebody to just kind of oversee the process for you and keep you on track.
So if it's your first time buying a business, you've never done this before, it's nice to have someone that can kind of help you through the process and show you what to do and how to do it in the proper way.
And even the business brokers that are representing the business that's for sale that you could be interested in, I mean, they're steering you, I don't think anybody's trying to do anybody dirty or anything. They're going to steer you, and you are at some point going to involve either which way, whether you're represented by a broker or an agent or whatever. You're going to get to the point to where you're going to have to tap in your own attorney or your own accountant to just kind of help you navigate some of those parts of the process. So
Love it. Yeah. So another service we offer here at Real Estate Essentials. We're just kicking this off. It's brand new, right?
No, it's exciting.
It is exciting, and we had just announced it recently in our Tuesday sales meeting yesterday. We announced this to the rest of the agents, so I'm excited. As soon as I heard about that, I was like, I got to get Sean in here. Let's talk about this.
I'm already tapping in our videographer. We just did a video shoot this morning, actually, for a listing that we have out in Pleasant Grove. So pretty fun. I see that as a cool, unique tool that we could use potentially for kind of marketing as your own, like we do with houses,
Right.
where you could jump in there and create your own video.
Yeah.
For business. So yeah, no, it's definitely something that's
Which I think
grow.
is great. I mean, I've looked myself in the past, I thought about going buying a business. So I've looked at it. I don't think I've ever seen a business present a video of their business, which is something I guess
They're few and far between, and I think that's why we have a unique situation here to where that's something that we already have that component working for us here.
Right.
So you add a few tweaks here and there, as Jay would call it, turn a few knobs, flip a few dials, all that kind of stuff. And, we're able to present businesses at that really high scale level that we do, commercial and residential real estate. So I think we'll be very unique in this space for that reason.
Yeah, so if anyone's thinking about buying or selling a business, all of our contact info will be in the description. Sean is leading this here in our brokerage. He's taking the charge, I guess. You're heading up with Tony, our commercial broker.
We're making this happen.
Yeah.
It's going down.
I love it. I love being here and just all the different opportunities we provide that we offer for our agents and our clients. It's just a great thing. So, again, if you guys are looking to buy or sell a business, reach out to us. Sean's number will be in the description. His email, mine will be there as well. I hope, and if you have any questions too, feel free to reach out, leave it in the comments, and of course, subscribe, give us a like, and then if you have any questions, again, let us know. So, anything you want to add to that?
No, got it covered. Good
Cool.
job.
All right. Thank you guys. Until next time.